1995 gave us Ernie Schlegel.
I don't believe it!
1996 was Mike Alby's turn to thrill the crowds. What's in store for 1997's Touring Players Championship? Find out next.
Welcome to Fun Fest Entertainment Center in suburban Pittsburgh for the finals of the Bear Brunswick Touring Players Championship. Here are tonight's finalists. Our fifth-seeded player rolled a 300 game just 4 weeks ago on ESPN and route to his fifth PBA title from Tarpon Springs, Florida, Steve Hoskins. This player captured his second title just 2 months ago in Tokyo, Japan, from Canandaigua, New York, Doug Kent. Our third seed is making his first championship round appearance of the year and seeking his third career title from Gilbert, Arizona, Dave Arnold. This player is trying to become just the second player this year to win 3 titles. He's the 6th ranked player in the world from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Brian Voss. And finally, our top seed has the best winning percentage on television in PBA history. He's trying to win for the 7th time in his career from Baltimore, Maryland, Danny Wiseman. And now let's go to PBA Hall of Famers Mike Durbin and Marshall Holman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Durbin. Working with me again, as always, PBA Hall of Famer Marshall Holman. Marshall, it's the Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Championship. It's special to the bowlers. Tell us why.
Well, the reason it's special, Mike, is the last tournament of the year, and it may be the finest field we have in the entire season. This is the tournament for the touring players, and I really think the people to watch are number 5 position, Steve Hoskins. He bowled 301 in Rochester about a month ago, and he was on our telecast last week out of Chesapeake.
Well, his opening match opponent is Doug Kent. He's the guy I think to look out for. Let's get on with match number 1. We're using lanes 25 and 26 here at the Fun Fest Entertainment Center in Harmarville, Pennsylvania.
Doug Kent opening up the match on lane 25. You're going to hear constant noise this evening. These people are all excited about the Professional Bowlers Tour. And they're excited about that shot. That shot from Doug Kent sent a little message to Mr. Hoskins, our 300 player.
Steve Hoskins, his 3rd telecast of the fall, and of course he bowled a 300 game, the 11th man to do it on television just a few weeks ago in Rochester.
Come on, now, come on. Let's go.
A little emotion from Steve Hoskins on the very first shot. Usually you don't see that kind of emotion, Mike, until the players have gotten well into a match.
As you can see, or hear, the fans are in constant clapping mode here tonight. Kind of abandoned our traditional format of quiet before the player shoots.
Well, if you were expecting a golf tournament, you didn't get one here.
That's too bad. Can I hear you? Can I hear you?
Yeah, you could hear him all right, Steve. Take a look at this, Mike. This was after Steve's first shot, that messenger strike.
Come on, now.
He's into it early, that's for sure.
Doug Kent trying to answer that double.
Calm, cool, and collected, Mr. Kent.
Well, a little more sedate than Steve Hoskins, but he was sort of throwing his arms out as if to say, how's that, Steve? That ought to answer that one.
Well, we have a packed house here at the Fun Fest Entertainment Center in Harmarville, Pennsylvania. Doug Kent evened the match Up in frame number 3, lane 25. Sometimes that big hook helps you, and sometimes it's a 4, 6, 7.
Well, it looks as if he might have just come up at the foul line a little bit on that shot, Mike, and did not get the delayed roll. The ball hooked right through the nose, and unfortunately, it's the 4, 6, 7. But all he can do right now is throw hard and straight at the 4, 7. Tried to bounce it out, but to no avail.
Well, you know, Brian Voss, our number 2 qualifier, made the 7-10 here twice this week.
There were a number of players that bounced pins out of the back. The pins were very, very lively here.
Displacing the idea that you need quiet and silence to bowl well.
I know what Steve Hoskins said. I hear you. There were actually more. It was more noise when Steve was on the approach going up to the foul line than there was when he actually let the ball go. Here they go, Steve, Steve, Steve.
25-pin lead into the 4th frame, trying to make it 35. For 4. You got a message, but it went wide of the target.
It came right in front of the 10-pin. I believe there's a pin
in the 10-pin channel.
Pin in the 10-pin channel. He'll have to wait to have that cleared.
Why is that?
Well, if he were to throw the ball and have the ball hit the pin in the channel, it would be a dead shot. You've got to get that pin cleared. It's that close. If it was on the other side near the 7-pin, he could go ahead and shoot it. They'd clear it later.
Well, they got it out of the way.
All right.
Uh-oh, the machine cycled. So they're going to have to set that 10-pin up.
Well, oops. Yeah, oops, one moment, please. Now, if you'll remember, last week at Virginia Beach,
right?
Steve Hoskins, we lost the 10-pin here, so we're going to have to get that reset. And
Kerry was a little late.
Our merit point list, of course, led by the great Walter Ray Williams.
Pete Weber, Tim Chris, Steve Jaros.
And Leto, who's won twice this fall up there.
Rick Steelsmith's had a very, very consistent year. You can see Voss and Kent.
And live. Steve Hoskins converts the spare. He leads by 24 pins after 3.5 frames. But Mr. Kent will be back, as will we. They're really rocking at the Fun Fest Entertainment Center. Doug Kent needs to rock out a couple of strikes beginning here in the 4th frame.
Well, Hoskins gave him an opening by not striking in the 4th. Boy, it looked like that 7-pin was down and then stood back up, but
well, that's what he thought. His reaction was total disappointment. Cross lane at the 7-pin. All these players seem to go to a spare ball nowadays.
Well, he wants to throw it hard and straight. There's a shot of his lovely wife and his boy, who looks like a Doug Kent clone. That's Tracy Kent.
And Jacob. The only difference is he's got hair.
Yeah. Mike, that's cruel. Slow and hook it. That's the Doug Kent way.
Doug Kent with a strike in the 5th frame. The deficit stays at 24 pins. Hoskins now gets up in the bottom half of the 5th.
And I'm sure that Steve's wife Lisa and his little girl Lindsay and son Ryan are back in Tarpon Springs watching Daddy roll. Got a hook. Boy, that ball was wide.
And it almost left the 5-7, but it kicked out of there.
It got very, very wide and it hooked out, but it made it back to the pocket. So fortunate just to leave the 7 pins for Steve.
Switches balls at the 7-pin, cross lane. He's bowled so well this fall. I asked him, is that tiring or invigorating?
I'd say it's a little of both. I'm kind of exhausted right now, but I'll tell you what, I just as soon have it keep going.
I'd like to bowl a few more tournaments.
Well as he's bowling, I can understand why he'd like to bowl some more tournaments.
Don't blame him a bit. He's got that 23-pin lead right now on Doug Kent. Steve is definitely lined in, although 2 frames ago a 10-pin, the last frame a 7-pin. To keep that 23-pin lead, he needs to strike here.
1989 Rookie of the Year lets it go high.
And now he's left himself a very, very difficult 3-6, 9-10. We take a look at Steve Hoskins. Did not get the ball projected far enough to the right. It was inside of his target. Generally, when you're inside your target, the ball's going to go through the nose.
Some bad things happen. Tough spare, Marsh. You going to hook it into this?
I'm very sure he will hook the ball at the 3-6, 9-10. And I'll tell you what, only a ball with the kind of power that Steve Hoskins imparts on it could ever have made that sleeper 9-pin.
Well, deficit now under 20, and Kent could cut 10 off of that with a double here.
Well, he has the opportunity to actually take the lead if he were to strike in the 6th and 7th frame.
As he strikes, it's now time for Dexter's footwork of the pros.
We take a look at Doug Kent. Heel toe, very, very slow approach, keeps his body in very good position. A little bit turned to the foul line, but great leverage, great footwork.
Marshall in the 7th frame now, he can actually take the lead.
Yeah, it's a very important shot for him. He's got the opportunity to put Hoskins in a 1-pin deficit, but that's got to really help. That ball really stopped hooking. He can't even believe it either.
How about that, Doug Kent says, and we say how about that, and how about listening to these messages as they're coming up. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us. A look at Doug Kent's last shot, Marshall.
Well, it looked to both of us as if that ball was left of his target and he threw it slower. Now, at this point, Mike, I think it's going right through the nose, and so did you, and I think so did Doug Kent. Somehow it hooked out and tripped a very, very late and fortunate 4-pin.
Well, there are about 4 pins on the deck there as he finished up, and his comment was, how about that? A good break. Hoskins, 7th frame. Perfect.
Now Steve Hoskins with the opportunity to take that lead right back from -1 up to +9 with a strike in the 8th frame.
Oh! I don't like that one. Come on.
The rest of the merit point list, Ryan Schaefer up there, Eugene McHugh, we talk about him a lot.
Wayne Webb bowling great this year. Mark Williams in 18th place. Brian Goebel, and a special hello to Randy Peterson, who's at home not feeling well right now. There's Steve Hoskins in 22nd place. And Dave Arnold will be coming up in our next match
to reclaim the lead. He finished out of the show by 1 pin last week. I asked him how he recovered.
Well, that was actually put behind me probably 25 minutes to a half an hour after I got done. I really went through that probably 4 weeks out of the fall. I was really knocking on the door for the show, and it just fallen out. And I more or less was really in deep thought on what kept happening and why it kept happening. I really wasn't, I was disappointed at the time, but I really was more or less looking forward to this week, being the last week and being a good tournament.
He's looking forward to one more strike right now, and doesn't get it. Wow, he adjusted for that shot that went high.
That certainly was residue from the prior frame where he tripped the 4-pin. He made it a point, Mike, to make sure to project this ball well to the right, and it did get way out there. Made the move back, knocked the 2-pin out, and end up with the 8-10. Now he puts himself in a very, very bad situation. Had he have struck in the 9th and then out in the 10th frame, he would have won by 1 pin. He would have shut Steve Hoskins out. He can't shut him out now. In fact, he needs to strike out just to force Steve Hoskins to really make some moves here in the 9th and 10th.
Hoskins leading by 13 in the 9th frame.
Yeah!
Now it's 23.
This is good.
Well, right now, Steve Hoskins going at a 2:34 pace. Best Doug Kent can do is 2:21, so simply it's a matter of Steve Hoskins getting up in the 10th frame, filling 18 pins. Take a look at Steve Hoskins, that ripping through the ball. Does he like it?
He's into it tonight.
I think this crowd has really pulled out the showman in Steve Hoskins. Needs to fill 18.
Well, that's going to be enough right there.
Good shot.
Well, that's enough, what, for a tie, I guess, if he would miss it.
That's right, Mike. If he were to miss this, Doug Kent could go on.
Some noise there.
He says he wants noise. He needs to make this fair to wrap up this first match.
He likes that, I'll tell you
I
what.
can get used to this. I can get used to this.
I'll tell you what, this crowd's not going to have any energy left by the time the fourth game is over.
They'll be as tired as the players.
Hoskins going to be their winner in match number 1, no matter what happens now. A strike he'll finish with 232. Just wants to keep his stroke and the crowd going for match number 2.
Good shot. All right.
231 Hoskins finishes with.
Come on.
Doug Kent,
Let's
a
have it.
nice paycheck, $8,000 that he'll take home, but he's the loser in match number 1. When we come back, watch his final shots. When we come back, Marshall Holman is going to have an average builder on how you can use different equipment to adjust to conditions. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
One of the questions asked me quite frequently on tour is, why are there so many different bowling balls out there? Well, here to help me with that question is PBA Hall of Famer Mike Albee. You won last year's Bear Brunswick TPC. What do you think?
Well, with all of today's conditions, it varies so much, and the different types of bowlers we have out there, you need different balls to adjust to those lane conditions. And Brunswick has created a family of bowling balls by changing the course and cover stocks to adjust to those lane conditions. They have balls that are very tame reactive to much more aggressive reactive bowling balls for today's market.
All right, well, what we have right now is we've got 2 lanes here, 25 and 26. Lane 25 is kind of a dry condition. Lane 26 is an oily condition. Now, Mike's got a couple of different bowling balls, and earlier we taped a few shots, and we'll show you exactly what these balls do on the different conditions.
Right, on lane 25, first of all, I'm going to use what is called a Deep Purple Rhino Pro. And this is a medium reactive ball that should be good for a drier lane condition. You watch the ball hook into the pocket. Next of all, I'll use a much more aggressive ball, which is a Speed Zone. Watch the same trajectory, and then the ball will be much more aggressive, will hook earlier, and cross over for a Brooklyn strike.
Well, Mike, you still struck, but...
Well, you can't be consistent doing that, Marshall. And on the drier condition, you want a ball that goes a little bit longer and gives you a medium directional change, so it's not a violent type reaction.
All right, now on the other lane, this lane has more oil on it, so we'll take a look and see exactly how the ball's reacted on the wetter lane.
First of all, I'll start with the speed zone, which, as I said, is a much more aggressive ball. You see the speed zone start to grab the lane, make a sharp turn right into the pocket flush.
Beautiful looking shot.
Now we switch to the Deep Purple Rhino Pro, which once again is the medium reactive ball, and watch it over the same trajectory.
Looks like it should recover.
Once again, it's not as aggressive, won't make the turn back. And on, like I said, on the oilier lanes, you want to use the much more aggressive ball, rolls a little bit sooner, makes a stronger change of direction for better pin carry.
All right, so we've shown you a few different things that you can use. This isn't everything in the order of bowling balls, but this should help you improve your average. This is the last telecast of 1997. I'd like to thank Mike Albee for helping me out. Now, you be sure to join us next year in 1998, where I'll be back with some more average builders.
Final score, Steve Hoskins definitely used the right ball. 232 to 218 over Doug Kent. That sets up his second match. Soft-spoken Dave Arnold, but look out, he can strike. We'll be right back after this. Pittsburgh, they love the Steelers, but they also love the PBA. Well, we'll see if Dave Arnold loves this constant noise.
And it never looks as if anything ever bothers Dave Arnold. It's almost as if he's kind of asleep when he's out there, but boy, is he good. As you can see, Steve Hoskins, 2 strikes, 3 spares on 25. He had a lot of strikes, 4 of them on lane 26. Mike, they're letting Steve finish on lane 26.
Well, watch Arnold, and he had a little trouble with this right lane. He was going high, so he liked the left lane a little better, it seemed like.
Not worrying about his opposition. As we can see, Dave Arnold, 6'3", very tall man, a very long reach. Helps to lay the ball's hook.
Carries the light hit. Dave, who at one time was voted the best spare shooter on tour.
Excellent spare shooter. He qualified 3rd with a 223 plus average. And Dave has learned in the last couple of years how to be a little more versatile. Can hook the ball a lot more now than he did maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Seems like to survive out here, you got to have all the shots.
You have to be able to do both ways, both hooking it and throwing it straighter.
And he goes high on lane 25, leaves only the 6-pin. Good break there.
Was that the lane he liked?
That was the lane he supposedly liked, yes.
Yeah, we'll take a look at this pin action. Take a look at the pin action here, Mike, and really right on the nose. Very fortunate to just leave the 6-pin.
Easy spare. No trouble with it, but Hoskins stepping up frame 2. As the crowd starts chanting for Steve again.
Well, Dave Arnold leaves an opening very early for Steve Hoskins to try and jump through.
Hoskins throwing nothing but strikes. And a few weeks ago in Rochester, New York, he did nothing but throw strikes there either.
Come on.
Take a look at Steve Hoskins. This is for 300, folks. He couldn't believe it. Well, he believes it now.
He's not superstitious. He's wearing a different shirt.
Well, it says he has no superstitions.
Second last week. 3rd telecast of the fall. Trying for win number 2 here tonight.
That ball was inside of his target, and it actually went longer down the lane because he pulled it into a little bit of an oil area. Still had enough energy to get back and strike. Take a look how deep that was inside the 4th arrow, Mike. But it's still, he has enough power. That's what the big hook players can do. They can pull it into the oil where some guys would pull it and they'd miss the head pin. Steve's ball recovers because he's got a lot of fingers.
Dave Arnold trying to ignore all that. Says, I'd carry that light hit too.
Great shot from Dave Arnold.
What you folks at home missed is as we take a look at the scoreboard and see Arnold behind by 20 pins. But as Marshall was explaining all that to me, he was using his hands to demonstrate too. And I could see them, but I know that you couldn't there. And
Mike,
your living room.
I cannot talk without the hands. I mean, it's the part of the whole
I understand,
mechanism here.
I just find it so
hey, it's work for John Madden.
Oh, a little trip of the 4-pin, late trip there.
Well, a good break for Dave. We'll take a look at Dave Arnold's ball coming in just ever so high, but gets the nice kick off the sideboard. 4 pins gone, and we'll see if he shows some emotion for us. Oh, yeah.
He likes that tomahawk action, right?
He likes it any way you can get it, Mike.
Hoskins trying for 4 in a row.
Not bad.
Not bad, but he doesn't trip the 4.
Well, that's good. You know, he threw the shot. He liked the way he threw it. It reacted a little bit high, left a 4-pin, but he said that's okay. It was a good shot. And look at the difference between his high game of 288 and his low game of 147.
Oh, the big error by Steve Hoskins.
There's a mental mistake. And, you know, Mike, last week in the final match of the roll-off in Virginia Beach, he missed a 10-pin. And now here he misses the 4-pin. Will it cost him? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. But that is just he knows, just a dumb mistake. Really puts Dave Arnold in a very strong position, leading by 3 pins.
So how do you put that behind you?
Well, you've got to be able to forget about it. And it's not like Steve's never missed a spare before. He knows how to strike a lot.
Help me out. Come on. Give me a little help.
I think he forgot about it.
Pump me off.
Oh, yeah. I think excitement is a little bit contagious, wouldn't you say, Mike?
Well, he's channeling it. Boy, he's taking the energy of this crowd, pumping it right through his body.
He's working them. As you can see, he defeated Steve Hoskins quite handily in match play, but that's all over now.
Trying for 3 in a row. Ooh, solid 10 pin.
Well, it's the first solid 10 we've seen today, and I want to tell you, I had the opportunity to bowl in the qualifying of this event, and what little times I did hit the pocket, there were a lot of solid 10s out there, not only for me, but for a lot of the players.
As the 10 pin, Jimmy Rudolph, who's the proprietor of the Fun Fest Entertainment Center right here in Harmerville, Pennsylvania. And we see the difference, almost an even match. 2 pins separate these 2 players after 5 frames.
Well, that was a nice break for Steve Hoskins, who could have found himself 13 pins down after 5 frames, but Dave Arnold left the 10 pin.
Arnold a little high, and he's behind even if he makes this spare, leaving the 3-6-10.
He'll be down by 1 pin if he picks it up, and even though the 9 pin isn't there, 3-6-10 still a very difficult spare, and even for a good spare shooter like Dave. Now, will he switch to the harder ball? Yes, he did make the switch, Mike.
I think that's a wise move.
I think for the 3-6-10 without the sleeper pin, yeah, I would shoot with the straighter of the 2 balls, and as accurate as Dave is, he shouldn't have any problem.
As it slides by the 3 pin, so both players have opened and made errors here. Arnold falls further behind by 12 pins. Hoskins working on a strike can increase that lead when we come back. Make sure you stay with us right now. And ESPN has their truck, but Pittsburgh has their bus. There he is, Jerome Bettis, who loves bowling.
And I'll tell you what, he absolutely, the people here in Pittsburgh, they love Jerome Bettis, and they should. He is quite a force for the Steelers.
Hoskins working on a strike, leading by 12.
Well, he was given a gift last frame. Does he take advantage? You bet he does.
Come on. Yeah.
Well, this is bringing out a different side of Steve Hoskins.
Can I get a re-rack?
He has enough presence to ask for a re-rack. For those of you that were with us last week, you remember in Chesapeake, Brian Carroll threw a strike, did throw a strike to try and win the truck put up by Ebonite, the Ford F-150, but he didn't draw his own name. Well, Ebonite realized that maybe something was wrong there, so they found out that his dream is to become a PBA member. They're going to pay all of his expenses to the Super School next July at the National Bowling Stadium in Reno, Nevada, where he'll receive some of the best instruction. They're also going to sponsor Brian in a PBA regional tournament of his choice. Turned out to be a good strike for him after all. And there's another strike by Steve Hoskins as he increases his lead to 32 pins.
Yeah. God, gotta love it.
Take a look at this messenger, Mike. Watch the head pin go to the sideboard. Bang! That was a fast message.
Arnold trailing by 32 now as he strikes. I asked him that he was a straight player. Was it tougher or easier for him on the PBA Tour?
It all depends on the condition that you're bowling on. At certain times in the tournament, it can be better for a straight player. Other times, it's better for a guy who hooks the ball more. But so it all depends on what the lanes are like at the time.
Kind of a non-committal answer there, but right.
Well, kind of the way that Dave Arnold thinks, and I think Caroline, his wife, and his children, Alexander and Natalie, would. Boy, they'd like seeing Daddy get that strike right there. It's going to be tough for him to come back. On Steve Hoskins right now.
Running out of frames here as he leaves just a 10 pin in the 8th frame, but he's missed the pocket on that left lane 3 times.
And that's the lane he chose to finish on. I've done that myself. As you see, his 19th career PBA appearance, and I said what a great spare shirt he was. He left the 3 in the 3-6-10, and now he sends the 10-pin into the channel. Now all Hoskins has to do is just keep himself loose, get himself ready for Brian Voss.
Well, you know, he won 4 matches in Rochester to win that tournament. Oh, it stops right at the pocket. Total command of this match, Steve Hoskins.
Dagger. Come on.
But take a look at Steve Hoskins. See this ball start out inside the 4th arrow, go way out to about 7 board, and ends up dead flush. And the reaction of a very, very happy and pumped up and confident Steve Hoskins.
Working on 4 in a row. No spares. Not many spares this game.
There have been 2 spares in the match, both by Arnold, and unfortunately Arnold has also missed 2 spares.
Trying for a strike in the 9th. Oh,
that might as well fall.
What they came here for, baby.
Everything else has, Steve.
From Hanover, Germany, tomorrow and Friday. So join us on the Deuce for all the early morning coverage. Starts at 8 a.m., continues Friday as Arnold strikes in the 9th frame.
Well, Dave Arnold just finishing out the game, trying to grab a little credibility. You know, Mike, really, there are some people that work for the tour that really go unnoticed, and that's the PBA Tour Support Team, led by Ted Thompson, the player service director. The guys out in the trucks drilling upwards of 200 or 300 balls a week. Lance Orr, Kelly Buford, and Dave Ulm, and our paddock manager, Al Mayhouse. So wanted to say thanks to those guys.
And high on that left lane again. He just never did figure out lane 25. So Dave Arnold is going to wind up finishing 4th here at the Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Championship. Steve Hoskins on a roll, drawing the energy from the crowd. However,
he'll need a lot
up next.
Yeah, he'll need a lot of it the next game, because Brian Voss, he knows just how talented he is, and I don't think he's going to be intimidated by anybody.
Arnold still his best finish of the year.
Yeah, and you know, it's unfortunate that he bowled the kind of game he bowled, really didn't do his best work. Missed a couple of spares, finally gets a strike on that lane that he thought was his best lane. Struck out in the 4th frame, and then again on his fill ball in the 10th.
Back on.
Dave finishes with 183. Steve Hoskins working on 5 in a row, wants to keep that momentum going. And he says, I don't care about right now. So Dave Arnold has lost to Steve Hoskins in match number 2. We'll be back to take a look at our top finishers right after this. Don't go away. Now let's take a look at our other top finishers this week. In 8th place, Pete Weber. Well, he adds a 15th top finish to his 2 titles. He's done just about all he can to win that PBA Player of the Year award. Now it's up to the voters.
You know, although he's just a part-time player now, Dave Husted is still a full-time casher. This check, it marks his 10th in 13 tournaments this year.
And old Double D, Dave D'Entremont. We saw him finish 2nd 2 weeks ago in a heartbreaking loss. His 17th place finish this week, well, it sends him to the Merit Mixed Doubles as an alternate.
Eugene McCune, another strong week for this hard-throwing right-hander. He's going to get that first title before it's all said and done.
And Dave Watka, he finishes the year strong with 2 top 24s, 1 telecast, and 4 checks in his last 6 tournaments. Our upcoming 1998 Winter Tour schedule starts with the Japan Cup. That's January 11th. Then we go to Brentwood, California for the Brentwood Classic, and then to the High Country, February 1st in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Well, then it's off from Albuquerque to Austin, Texas for the Columbia 300 Open, and then to Peoria, Illinois for the Peoria Open. Our national championship will be February 22nd. That's in Toledo, Ohio.
And we stay in the Ohio-Pennsylvania area for the flagship Open in Erie. Finish up with the seniors in Greater Albany, March 15th. Final score, match number 2. Steve Hoskins defeats Dave Arnold 244-183. That sets up our semifinal match. The rising star Hoskins taking on the superstar Voss. Who's going to win? We'll find out after this. Don't go away. Voss on the left, Hoskins on the right. Stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. They're ready.
Well, we can see the lane breakdown for Steve Hoskins. Now he's got 7 strikes on both the lanes.
He's whacking them both.
Yeah, I don't think he really has a preference. Well, he has a preference. He prefers both of them.
He prefers the crowd to be into it.
Yeah, that ball went a little long on him.
Well, he had a chance that he's getting pumped up and that adrenaline.
That's possible, Mike. Earlier tonight, he threw a shot similar to that where he got it inside his target, but he had enough fingers to get it through the heavier oil and get it to return. Hard and straight. Will he make this spare?
He says, all right, nothing to this spare game. I'm used to strikes.
Now, this will be our first look at the classic style of Brian Voss.
And Voss, always a study in concentration. Ooh, solid 10 to begin the match.
Well, he really wanted to get off to a fast start. He made a very good shot on the right-hand lane. Once again, the solid 10.
Did you see what he did there? He gave it a little raspberry. Cross lane at the 10-pin. Not changing balls, Marshall.
He'll throw hard and straight. He's a master at hand releases. As you can see, that ball never did turn over at all. We take a look at the classic 4-step delivery for Brian Voss. Gets that ball started very early in the first step. Look at this beautiful pendulum, shoulder high swing, deep knee bend, good reach. Teach your kids to bowl like that.
Perfect balance. Look at that left foot at the line. The line of the shoulders all the way down to the back leg. Yep. Second frame, semifinal match. Uh-oh. Oh!
And he gets a great break.
Oh! I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Take a look at the pin action. We can see. Now watch, there's the 2-8-10. What gets? What gets it?
The 4-pin.
4-pin comes in and takes care of it.
Took care of both of them.
Fortunate just to leave the 10-pin. And he converts. Mike, on the right-hand lane, Brian Voss going very straight. On the left-hand lane, he's in deeper trying to hook the ball. Will he change his strategy for the next time on the left-hand lane after coming in light?
Hoskins doesn't have to worry about all that. He just says, I'm whacking on it.
Well, Hoskins' A game is also his B game. He likes to hook it and then hook it. And he's good at it.
Boy, has he been so great this fall?
That's twice. Almost hit it.
Takes a look at that rack, make sure he likes it. Right now, it doesn't matter to Hoskins. He could be bowling anybody.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mike. And you really...
Come on, let's go.
You've seen the emergence of the ham in Steve Hoskins. He is loving these people.
You know, I could see you loving this atmosphere out there.
Well, if you could take me back about 10 years, I'd love it. Same shot he threw. Oh!
You gotta want it, baby. Yeah.
And Brian Voss doesn't love it, Steve. Take a look at this shot inside his target. It's sliding. Okay, let's crumble a bucket. Watch this. Take a look once again at the pin action, and he just throws everything back at that bucket.
Well, they're all on the deck. Voss is down the lane. He says, I can strike too.
And he can ham it up too. I see this as the key shot for Brian Voss. He asked for a re-rack on the left-hand lane. He came in light last time. Couple of options, Mike. He can move in even deeper, open up the lane a little bit more with slower speed, or he can move himself out like he is on lane 26.
Bring all the action.
He went straighter on that lane, Mike.
He's getting that over-under reaction, right?
Didn't get the good break, and what you mean by over-under is You get the ball in a little bit, it slides on the conditioner.
27.
Get it out a little bit too soon, it hooks early. You can see Brian left the TV pair with a better than 253 average on it.
At the 4-7.
And he just does not want to give Steve Hoskins too much room too early.
Says don't chop it. It didn't. Brian Collins, Vice President, Brunswick Corp.
Seems to be enjoying himself.
Relaxed.
This guy's been pretty relaxed today, too.
He's been very relaxed.
All you got to do is do that, baby, and this is yours. One at a time. Come on.
And here's some of the champions on the fall tour. We opened the Windsor Locks with Duke and, of course, Hoskins. He's just there. And the other guys both so great this fall. Amleto Monticelli.
John Mazza won in Indianapolis, and then there's Amleto again in Virginia Beach. Jason Couch, he won our Ebonite Challenge. Steve Hoskins looking to put himself in position to win the Touring Players Championship. But he's 21 pins up. We've only bowled 4 frames. He's bowling Brian Voss. We've got a match here. Steve, you're entertaining the heck out of me.
He is everybody except who he's bowling.
It looks to me as if as we have a problem on lane 25. The pin setter seemed to have malfunctioned a little bit. They're resetting that lane, getting it all fixed up. Well, looks as if Steve Hoskins, even though he's striking about the same lane to lane, he looks like he likes 26 a lot better.
Yeah. He's really confident on that lane.
Down by 31 pins, Brian Voss needs to get it started.
Voss can throw it straight. He can hook it. I asked him, when does he decide to do which one?
Well, I approach the game, you got to go out there and try and create the largest margin of error. Sometimes that requires you to roll the ball very slow, sometimes very hard, sometimes very direct, and other times with a lot of hook. But that's the way I like to play this game. I want to create the largest margin of error that I possibly can. And I've been very successful at it in my career.
That's a smart way to bowl.
Well, he needs to be successful here on lane 25 if he wants
tried to
a chance
hook it.
to win.
He's tried to go straight. He went straight again.
Brian Voss says, I'm not done yet. And we're not done yet. We're going to be back right after these messages. Don't you be done and leave us. Stay with us. And another guy that loves bowling, Roger Kingman, came up.
2-time Olympic gold medalist. And Pittsburgh loves him here.
He's here every year for the telecast at the Mayor Brunswick Touring Players Championship. This is Mike Durbin along with Marshall Holman. We're at the Fun Fest Entertainment Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the championship round finals of the Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Championship. Hoskins on 4 in a row. Leaves the soft 10 in the 6th frame.
Looked to be a little inside of his target. If it would have hooked a little bit harder, take a look at this, Mike. A little about 21 board. Didn't make the hard charge back. A little lighter, he rips the rack. A little heavier, he trips out the 10 pin. Hard and straight, has no problem with that spare.
Yeah, I got my re-rack.
And he wants a re-rack on that left lane.
Well, he asked if he could get one. I'm not sure he hasn't already exhausted the re-racks for this game.
Okay. What do you get, 2?
I believe you get 2 re-racks, and they're gone, and he's shooting it. Now, this is a very, very important shot for Steve Hoskins on a lane he's been striking on, but he hasn't exactly got it completely zoned in at this point.
Ooh! And he's saying, if I'd have re-racked, I'd have got that strike.
Oh, good pitch.
Nope,
Yeah.
it says good pitch.
Mike, I believe during the commercial he did exhaust his last re-rack, and that's why he was not able to take one for this frame.
Well, leads by 19 with a spare conversion. It's the 9 pin. It's a dead flush. This is Voss's opportunity here in the 7th frame.
Well, Voss, pardon me, Brian, Voss gave a little greeting card in the previous frame, the 6th frame, when he struck to cut that lead down a bit. Now with a strike in the 7th and the 8th, he could take the lead. How do you concentrate through Voss's boss?
He didn't.
Not boss on that one.
Well, he can laugh at himself anyway as he leaves the 3-6. Boy, he had his chance right then and there.
Well, he's won twice this year in Wichita, Kansas, and Richland, Washington. Love to make it 3 of them.
At the 3-6. Has the spare, but he's running out of frames, trailing by 21.
And that was on a lane that he's been hitting, Mike, and he just made a bad shot. He got the ball inside of his target, didn't project it down the lane properly, didn't get the right rotation, the right speed.
So
Right
if you're up there and your name is Voss and they're saying Voss is boss, does that distract you?
I should think it could. Mike, he left 4 or 5 of those in practice. The 4-9 split. We'll take a look at what looks like a great shot. It looks like it's hooking out and holding pocket. 8 in the pit. He likes it.
Doesn't like the result. He'll go for it for sure.
At this point in the match, he has to. Take a look at how a great player makes a tough split. Brian Voss to the left of that 4-pin. Almost overcuts it, Mike.
He'd had the 10.
Got the job done. Now, Steve Hoskins up by 23 pins.
That's pretty good.
Yeah! That's very good, Steve.
Okay, Steve,
On,
you can have my job.
Scoreboard, 23 pins. Hoskins
the
telling
best
himself one time.
Yeah, all he needs to do is make a good shot in the 10th frame.
Come on, get me ready.
He's working at 228. Brian Voss can shoot 225 at best. So Hoskins just needs to make good shots.
Well, the crowd plays no favorites as they're chanting Steve.
Mike, if he wins this game and he looks probable to do that, is he going to have any gas left for that final match?
I think he does. He's drawing more and more energy from this crowd. Now, tomorrow, he may be exhausted. Voss says this isn't over yet.
Oh, he won't give up. Now, it's getting closer to over, and I'm sure that Andrea, his lovely wife, and his 2 boys, Joshua and Cameron, they're a little bit disappointed that Brian wasn't able to get it done.
At the 4-pin, cross lane, straight at it, but even if he strikes out, he only finishes with 214, and Hoskins can open and still win.
Yeah, Hoskins just needs to stay behind the foul line and not do anything extraordinarily dumb. Looks like it's going to be Hoskins advancing. He's kind of licking his chops and going, I like this game.
Voss finishing out in the 10th frame, strikes there.
Well, it's the look of disappointment, but also he knows he did a good job this week. Bowled very, very good all week.
One more.
I think he'd like to start the game over. Tell Steve Hoskins he's going to make him show up.
Boss,
Was Voss.
Oh, getting a little personal here now. 2:14. Hoskins saying Voss was Voss. All in the spirit of levity. He needs 6 pins. He says I can handle that.
And with the shot that he's playing right now, he has no reason to be careful. He can go ahead and just keep himself loose. He's not sending the ball extraordinarily wide. He threw a strike shot. Now a careful strike shot, Mike.
Now you do it. Now you do it.
Brian Voss, he'll finish third. That's $15,000. Still a great week and a very, very solid year for Brian Voss, who finishes with
It's always fun. I said that enough.
$124,000.
Steve wanted to know if it's enough, which it is, Steve. We can tell you that.
Well, if I'm Steve Hoskins, I'd like to make this split just so I have a chance to shoot another shot.
He doesn't. But he's still the winner of our semifinal match. Hoskins, 223. Brian Voss, 214. We want to encourage you to stay with us and not go away, because when we come back, we have a special announcement from Brunswick. Final score of our semifinal match. Hoskins defeats Voss, 223-214. Sets up match. Danny Wiseman, he always wins for the #1 position. Steve Hoskins seems unbeatable. Who'll win? Stay tuned. We're back in Harborville, Pennsylvania. An enthusiastic crowd waving and shouting. And Steve Hoskins has played every one of them. I think he's going to go around and introduce himself to each and every one if he wins.
Well, the top-seeded player has lost 13 of the last 14 title matches.
Wow.
Now we've got a bowler right here in Danny Wiseman, who's won 6 out of 7 times from the lead. Can he get a break? It's going to fall over, but the machine touches it. And the machine cannot help the 5-pin. They'll have to put the 5-pin back up. He'll shoot the spare.
Wow. That's a heck of a way to start.
Well, it's a tough way to start, but he did make a good shot. You know, Danny Wiseman, 5'9", 165-pound 30-year-old from Baltimore, Maryland. Been a pro for 14 years. Just recently went from 4 steps to a 5-step approach.
And converts the 5-pin.
Told me that it helps him to open the lanes up and hook the ball more. Well, you know, Steve Hoskins rolled 300 about a month ago in Rochester for $10,000. If he should do it in this game, it'd be worth $100,000.
Courtesy of ATFA Pictures.
Well, you just need 11 more, Steve.
Come on, baby. Good shot. One at a time. This is you.
Once again, we see the lane breakdown for Steve Hoskins, and very, very close from the left lane to the right lane.
Get a good look at the grips in his ball, plus a thumb slug. So many players go into that nowadays.
And I don't understand why Steve would want to have the finger grips. He gets so much on the ball, I would think that it would just rip his hands apart, but I think Steve knows best.
Yeah, I love it, baby. This one's mine.
Well, Steve may know best, but the crowd thought Voss was boss. We'll see if Wiseman, I can't think of something to go with that, but
he can take a 229 average and let it go with it.
Carries the light hit this time.
He's trying to show emotion, but it's difficult coming off after watching for an hour and 10 minutes to come out and get that emotion as fast as he wants it.
And we see that Wiseman and Voss dominated this event, but Hoskins, who was either 6th or 5th most of the time, may be the guy.
Very consistent. We take a look at another nice-looking player in Danny Wiseman. And another player having a little trouble with the left lane.
2-8, not an easy spare.
I would think he would stay with his strike shot, move himself over on the approach 4 or 5 boards, and hook it into the 2-8. That would be my choice. Let's see if it's his.
A little extra time, and he's trying to hook into it, and makes it.
He says no problem. There's Danny's mother, Dorothy Potter.
Steve says make more noise. The more you make, the better I like it. Well, they had a great match in match play.
246, 237. Hoskins was the victor.
Boy, he looks so good tonight. Same as he did at Rochester.
Just incredible.
That's a good shot.
That's very good. That is very good advice he's giving himself. He said, now calm down.
Enjoy it. That's right.
Calm down and make a good shot.
What better city to be a bus?
Well, he's an awfully small bus. He's a little bus. Oh, boy.
Little help.
Little help, he got it.
Too bad. That's too bad. I love it. Little help.
Let's watch this little help that Steve Hoskins asked for. There goes the ball, the pins to the sideboard, and everything's shaking around, and then here comes Steve just yelling and having fun. Break for Danny Wiseman, but he's down by 30 pins.
And Bob Kirk, Vice President for the Bayer Corporation, sitting right next to the bus.
And seems to be having a good time. And how could you not be having a good time in this atmosphere, Mike?
Well, if Danny Wiseman doesn't strike here, he won't be having the best of times.
He's down by 30, can cut it to 20 in the 5th frame. And even early in the match, very important. Came in light last time. There he makes the adjustment for coming in light, goes right through the nose, and right now it looks as if Steve Hoskins has everything going his way. Not only is he dialed into the lanes with good carry, but Dan Wiseman,
it seems like everybody has gotten that over-under reaction, you know, where they throw it a little right and it goes high, in a little, and it comes in light on the left lane, except for Hoskins. Why?
Well, Hoskins should open up the lanes and use more power than anybody else on our telecast. And that enables him to really have more room. It's important for Steve Hoskins not to get too emotionally charged too soon. He still has 6 frames to bowl, Mike. And I know from past experience, you get too excited early in a match, it can come back to haunt you.
Well, he got that in. Breaks it up, leaves just the 3-pin.
All right, forget about it. Come on.
But all of his self-talk is perfect.
Clear your head.
Well, everything is a positive affirmation to himself, which is very important. And the people watching, boy, if you're bowling in a tournament or even in a league, you want to make sure that you don't get down on yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Even if you make a mistake, that's okay. You're only human.
At the 3-pin, Hoskins has it. Hoskins seems to be lined up.
After he threw that first shot, went through the nose, he went back and calmed himself down and said, okay, just clear your head, forget about it, now let's make a good shot. The chant for Steve, Steve, Steve. That's another shot that's bad.
Leaves the 3-6. Right now, he wants to get those shoulders in line with the target. But I really think, like what you talked about just a couple frames ago, is what's happening.
It's like a prize fighter punching himself out. You know, there's only so much energy. And he dig deep and get some more of it.
And folks, as he was punching himself out, he just smacked me. So as Hoskins converts the 3-6. Wiseman, this is his opportunity to get something going.
Well, he has the right lane pretty well wired, Mike. It's a matter of putting a couple of strikes together, and that means striking on lane 25. But first things first, lane 26. Made a pretty good shot, but the ball just did not quite come back to the pocket.
Danny Wiseman changing balls to shoot the 7-pin. Go cross lane at it. It's time to convert that spare, and now it's time for Dexter footwork of the pros.
Well, as we can see, Danny Wiseman's got an extremely long approach. He takes long steps. Watch this slide, Mike. Very, very long slide. Raises up slightly at the foul line, and the foot turns a little bit to the right, but very nice looking style.
And now maybe that he's missed 26, he can hit 25.
Well, he's going to hope he can. He moved in deeper. And there's that 4-9, the same split that Brian Voss left. And he sort of gives it the okay sign. A little bit of sarcasm from Danny, and I don't blame him. That is a terrible break in a title match, especially for
well, he used this ball.
This important.
He used this ball just to shoot the 7-pin. So he has some idea of how tight it is going across lane as he puts a piece of tape into the ball.
And he's a very good spare shooter. He's very accurate. He's got a chance to make this, but boy, he really needs it right now. And
doesn't get across.
Ball didn't hook at all. Right now, Steve Hoskins, 41 pins.
Hoskins.
I would say that opening probably would give him a little energy.
Yeah. Puts that gas right back in the engine. Goes high, but leaves only the 4-pin.
That's sometimes the toughest thing in the world to do, Mike, is just fill frames. If Steve Hoskins can fill the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, he wins this tournament.
Cross lane at the 4-pin. 40 pins.
Now, Steve Hoskins knows exactly the situation. It's just a matter of filling frames.
Good shot.
And another good shot. You know, needs to continue to just make good shots. He's okay, but I would think right now it's getting tougher to breathe.
Well, like you say, sometimes trying to finish with spares is tougher than strikes.
Come on, let's go.
Well, you know, somebody should write a book about how to throw a lot of strikes and make a lot of spares. Oh my gosh, somebody did.
Your hand.
Oh my goodness, my new book.
From Gutter Balls to Strikes by Mike Durbin.
How about that, huh? Well, right now, Wiseman needs to read a chapter on striking. Hit it.
Well, he makes a good shot, and it's just looking more and more as if this tournament is
destined
for Steve Hoskins' taking. You know, tomorrow on the 13th at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City, Johnny Petraglia will receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Marty Lyons Foundation during the Children's Award Dinner. The award represents Johnny's work with children with special needs throughout his life. And other honorees include John Franco of the Mets, Derek Jeter of the Yankees, Kendall Gill of the Nets, and Mike Richter of the Rangers. So our congratulations to Johnny Petraglia.
And one more bad break for Danny Wiseman. Started the game out with a 5-pin that was down. It came back up 4-9, 10-pin. Now a solid 9 in the 9th frame. It just wasn't his day.
Yeah, they're still trying to give Danny some encouragement, but it's going to be a hard-fought loss.
Has the spirit.
Well, I think Steve knows right now. I'm sure Lisa knows, and Lindsay and Ryan. Well, I don't know if Ryan knows. He's kind of young, but Lindsay looks like Daddy's going to take home the big money.
Ninth frame, Hoskins.
Yes! Oh, thank you.
That's it. That's all he needed, and a very good sportsman, Danny Wiseman.
Give it up for yourself. Come on. Yeah.
I think he's going to give half the trophy, but not the check to the crowd.
Just needs one pin.
That's enough. That's one strike.
This does not get any better than this.
Well, he's got 2 victories in the fall and a second-place finish, and it hasn't gotten any better than that for Steve Hoskins.
Wiseman just finishing it out where Steve Hoskins has won the Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Champion. We'll be back to talk to him. And I know you're thinking of hitting that remote, but don't you do it. Stay with us. Your champion and the newest ham on the PBA Tour, Steve Hoskins.
I'd say this is my forum here. I gotta love this stuff, baby.
Well, you're gonna love something else even more. Right now we have Bob Kirk, the vice president from Bayer, with this gorgeous trophy.
Steve, what an exciting evening to watch you climb up that ladder. Congratulations. On behalf of the Bayer Corporation, I'd like to present our trophy for the Bayer Brunswick Championship for tonight.
And a beautiful one it is, I'll tell you what. Is this not pretty? Thank you, Bayer. You have stepped up and made bowling just tremendous in the Pittsburgh area. I'll tell you what, we can't thank you enough.
And we saw this gentleman earlier as he made that great announcement about the deal. Right now, he's got a check for $40,000, Fred Florjanic.
Congratulations, Steve. On behalf of Brunswick and our partners, Bayer, let me give you this check for $40,000 for your first check.
Thank you, Fred. Lindsay, Ryan, this is for you. Fred, I tell you what, I'm absolutely speechless with how Brunswick has stepped up to help the PBA Tour in rough times, and I'll tell you what, they're going to bring us into the new millennium. Thank you, Brunswick.
Steve, when you started the fall tour, did you ever dream anything like this could happen in just 6 short weeks?
Dream, yes. Reality, hell no. I'll tell you what, I'm ecstatic. I feel like Marshall. He's a little animated.
No, you don't, Steve.
It's euphoria right now. I tell you what, this is great.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
For Marshall Holman, this is Mike Durbin saying so long from the Bayer Brunswick Touring Players Championship, where Steve Hoskins is your champion. We'll take a look now at some of the champions from the fall tour of 1997. The PBA will be back on ESPN in January with the Japan Cup. Check your local listings. Stay tuned now for the Coaches vs. Cancer Championship game. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.